Hello and welcome back to another video about Costa Rica and more specifically about turtles. Because you can probably guess, I'm very excited to be here in the Osa Peninsula working with such beautiful animals. I'm actually working as a research assistant for the conservation organisation LAST, Latin American Sea Turtles, until December. So I wanted to make this video to share with you a bit about why this kind of work is important and what you can do to help. To start with, this is a brief overview of the turtles we have in Costa Rica, because there are 7 species of turtles worldwide, but I'm focusing on the 4 we have here, and more specifically the 2 species that I've been working with. So on the Caribbean coast of the country we have tortuguero and pacuari, where you can see green leatherback and hawksbill turtles. This is a nesting habitat, so they come to lay their eggs here before returning to the ocean. I'm on the other side of the country at the Pacific coast. So in the Osa Peninsula you can see green and hawksbill turtles. This is a foraging habitat, so turtles come to feed here. Green turtles are our first endangered species and they look like this. So all turtles except the leatherback have a hard shell which is known as a carapace, and the sections of the shell that form the carapace are known as scutes. We use tail length to determine whether a turtle is male or female, as males usually have a longer tail, and the underside of the turtle is called the plastron. For green turtles, there are 2 different varieties in the overall appearance, and this is known as morphotype. You can have a black morphotype, and this is the more common appearance, so you can see it's a lot darker in colour, or a green morphotype, and this is a lot less common here, but you can see it on tropical islands such as Hawaii or Easter Island off the coast of Chile. They're much paler in colour than the black morphotype. There's a lot more definition between their postocular and prefrontal scales, so these are the scales surrounding the turtle's eyes. Hawksbill turtles are critically endangered and look like this. So they have a more pointed beak than the green turtle. They're generally smaller in size and they don't have the 2 different morphotypes. They also have imbricated scales which mean they overlap, and the carapace has a jagged edge. So those are the turtles we have here at the Golfo Dulce. The ecosystems we have here include mangroves, seagrass and coral reefs. But I already have a whole video about what makes mangroves so important, so feel free to give that a watch if you haven't already. And in terms of the biological corridors which turtles use, turtles from the south are coming from Isla Isabela and passing Cocos Island to reach Playa Blanca, which is where we are. And turtles from the north are coming from Nombre de Jesus to reach here. So why are sea turtles so endangered? Sea turtles are reptiles, which means they're cold-blooded, they have lungs and they lay eggs, but they need air to breathe and land to lay these eggs. So climate change is the first big threat. Erosion of their nesting beaches destroys their habitat for laying eggs, and the rising temperatures mean that sea levels increase. This comes with heavier storms, warmer water, and this introduces the threat of new predators, who previously couldn't survive in the same areas. Hatchlings are prone to attack from birds, dogs at the beach, basically anything that can kill them before they get to the sea. Sharks prey on adults in the oceanic and pelagic phase of a turtle's life cycle. Killer whales and carnivorous fish can also attack them. And obviously we have humans, although this isn't a natural predator. On the topic of humans, plastic pollution is another massive problem for sea turtles. Hawksbill turtles eat sea sponges, algae, mollusks, crustaceans, small fish and jellyfish. This is where the plastics come in particularly, because turtles often confuse plastic bags with jellyfish and end up eating something that they completely can't digest. Besides plastic bags, all kinds of human waste ends up in the sea, and this makes it really difficult for turtles to survive. Finally, we have egg poaching. Poachers often raid the clutches of nesting females to use their eggs for food, for selling, for the black market, and this is really hard to police because it usually happens at night. What is illegal in law is often very hard to control in the isolated and rural locations where turtles like to nest. Turtles are also a prized commodity for their meat and their shells, the hawksbill and green carapace in particular, so this makes it a big target for the jewellery market. So considering all the threats that turtles are facing, you might be wondering what LAST is doing to help them here in Costa Rica. Our sea turtle monitoring program is aiming to tag and recapture turtles so that we can monitor their development and hopefully improve the status of populations of sea turtles over the years. The work that we do with mangroves and seagrass meadows is helping to improve their critical habitats because they use seagrass and mangrove propagules as a source of food here. So the data we find during monitoring sessions on the boat helps to inform our conservation efforts, and we also have a rescue centre for rehabilitating injured turtles. The aim is for these combined efforts to complement each other and help generate as much information as possible about turtles, because the more we know, the better we can conserve them. At the Osa Peninsula, we're working with green turtles, Tortuga Verde, and hawksbill turtles, Tortuga Carey, and it's an in-water project because in order to observe the turtles, you need to find a way of catching them. The turtle life cycle starts with a juvenile stage in shallow coastal areas before they become adults, swim in the open ocean, and finally mate. The females then go to their nesting beach to lay eggs. The Golfo Dulce is a foraging and not a nesting habitat, so we can't just go to the beach and tag turtles after they've laid their eggs. This means we need to go out on a boat and use nets to observe them in the wild. We monitor 8 different points along the coast, and when we catch turtles, they're out of the water for no longer than 30 minutes. And after we've monitored them, we immediately re-release them back to the water. During the time they're out of the water, we record the turtle's sex, carapace length, carapace width, and its plastron measurements, how many ectoparasites like barnacles there are, how many parasites like S. muricata, which lives inside the skin they have. If there are too many parasites in a really severe case, we would take it to the rescue centre, but normally if there are a manageable amount, we can remove some on the boat. After we've measured the turtles, we tag them with a metal clip on the front flippers and also an internal pit tag, which is basically a microchip that can be scanned with an electronic reader. Depending on the species and whether the turtles are juveniles, we don't always add the metal tags because you don't want to interfere with the flipper while it's still growing. And the reason we put both types of tag on, metal external tags and internal pit tags, is because pit tags are much less likely to get lost, but you need an expensive scanner in order to detect them. Not all conservation initiatives can afford these, and we want our data to be as accessible as possible. So we use metal tags as well, so that other people can use our findings. But why is this okay to do? Just like me, you might be wondering, why is this action justified? And is it really worth tagging live animals just in the name of research? So we need to tag turtles in order for recapture to be informative. Because if we don't know whether we've previously caught a turtle before, then we can't generate an accurate population census and know how many individuals are in the area. So the information we get from tagging helps us to see whether populations are increasing or decreasing. And this is really important because we need to know which species and which areas are most prone to being endangered. It's also really important to do this because tagging means we can track whether turtles have lost weight. We calculate their body condition based on their weight, carapace and plastron measurements, so we can tell whether they are finding it easy or hard to find food in this habitat and whether they're breeding successfully. We can monitor new injuries or parasites. We can see if there are significantly more barnacles or ectoparasites than the last time we caught it, and then we can subsequently remove these as necessary. So there's a whole lot of information we get from tagging, and that's what makes it worth doing. Finally, what more can we do to help? As individuals, we can all be more mindful of our plastic waste, avoid single-use plastics like disposable forks, and take reusable water bottles and shopping bags. Leading on from here, you can try participating in the beach clean, because while this is not a very glamorous occupation, it's an extremely hard-hitting way of finding out just how much human trash actually ends up directly in the sea. And you can become a more conscious consumer of seafood. Try to find out where it was caught, and where possible, choose food that's not been caught with trawling nets that can harm turtles as bycatch. Finally, you can donate to wildlife charities such as WWF, the Turtle Foundation, or the Olive Ridley Project, or you can even get involved and volunteer. Turtles are found in many parts of the world, not just the tropics, and whilst Costa Rica, Malaysia and Thailand might be hotspots, they're also found in Australia and the US. And finally, support mangrove initiatives. We are replanting mangroves because this is a key habitat for turtles to find sources of food, so the two projects really do go hand in hand. And there we have it. In a nutshell, anything you can do to help turtles, no matter how small, makes a difference. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and I hope it's inspired you to make a difference.